right now I am in what is called the hellscape of New York for locals that live here. Times Square Station and Times Square itself. What is the number one thing, or at the very least in the top 3 things, when a tourist comes to New York, what do they want to see? It is Times Square. And for the locals who live here in New York, including myself, it is the one place that we absolutely always want to avoid. And having to transfer through Times Square Station to other trains is the most painful, annoying process. I'm here at about 1 o'clock right now, so it's not as bad. When it hits around 4 or 5 during peak hour traffic, it is just a sardine fest. But anyway, my goal is to walk around Times Square today to show you precisely the reason why Times Square is a hellscape and why every single person who lives in New York absolutely avoids the shit out of it. So we'll see what crazy things we can find. So you start to see the tourist scams. These guys in the red, they are the hop on, hop off bus tour people, which I never recommend to anybody in New York. I would not recommend buying street food because you just do not know where it's come from. It could be mystery meat, mystery peanuts, I don't know. And this is the enormous Paramount building, which is quite spectacular, I will say. More hop on, hop off bus people. And these are the people you really want to avoid right here. The massive tourist scams. Look at them. Charge you $10, $15, $20 for taking a photo with them when I can take a video of them for free. And this is where it starts to get real crowded. Really crowded. Again, we are at a non-peak time right now. This is noon on a Wednesday, and this is how busy it is. Noon on Saturday is an entirely different story, and you can still see hundreds of people here. Over 1,000 just on this same 3, 4, 5 block of land. Another place you don't want to eat at. I'm talking about. I'm a fast walker, and even I can't get through some of these crowds sometimes. Oh my gosh. People with suitcases, oldies walking slow, bigger people, which are all fine things to be. But when you're in a rush, you go into a job. Sometimes you got to do what I do right now and run in the bike lane to get through, because you need to be somewhere on time. In fact, I'm going to cross the street now. This is the hellscape of New York. This is the hellscape. All right. Statue right there. I think he's important to Broadway somehow. And we have, no, maybe that guy's important to Broadway. I have no idea. This is the famous tickets thing where most days of the week you can't even put a foot on there. More people handing out stuff. So right behind me, people will line up here for hours to get cheap Broadway tickets. Line up for hours. There are other ways of doing it, like getting it online through these like lotteries. That's what I would recommend to people, rather than wasting 7 hours of your 5-day trip to New York lining up at a ticket booth. Street performers. I don't know what that thing is, but it is sick. More scams. All scams. They look cool sometimes. Again, I'm giving Times Square a negative review. There are beautiful things about it. Beautiful things. Like, I do remember setting my eyes on Times Square for the first time like 5 years ago. And it really is like, oh my God, I'm seeing it in person moment. And now it's just kind of like a get out of my motherfucking way. Get out of my way. People. Why are there so many people? Oh, almost got hit by the M&M's door. See these? I'm not sure, are they Buddhists? I want to be respectful, but they're like trying to hand out beads to people. Those beads are not free. They are not free. They are scams. So many scams in New York. The modern, I mean, I haven't been really to like Asia, and I know there's a lot of scams in Asia and parts of Europe, but New York, Times Square specifically, has so many of these tourist scams. It's insane. So I'm just going to be very quiet. These I Love New York gift shops, they're all scams. So this is just like, you'll get overcharged for everything in this store. Don't come to these stores. These things behind me, there's like 100 of them in Times Square. I think the guy noticed me in the store, me talking shit about his store. I'm sorry, everyone's got to make a living. I get it. I get it. Also, a lot of people before they come to the city think that Times Square is like one block. It is like 10 blocks and then 3 avenues from side to side. That is really how big Times Square is. It's just expanding, and all the locals just don't want it to expand any further than what it is. Really. Anyway, this is one of the big bus tours. Don't do them. Just walk around the city. Get the subway, get the ferry. I give the ferry, New York ferry system, top marks always. More scams behind me. So many scams. Oh my gosh. It's just literally, you're just walking around. So many like objects, including people. These are the signs that couldn't make it in the prime time spot. A lot of homelessness in the city, which is very sad to see. Big problem in America in general. Very, very sad. So it is late October in New York, and it's a very nice day for late October. I've been here for like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and I'm already sweating bullets. So apparently, don't quote me on this, but apparently in Manhattan, because there is so much concrete, whatever the general temperature of the whole New York area is, Manhattan is 5 degrees hotter, especially in Times Square with all the shit ton of electricity around, and just, you know, you are walking on concrete. How many trees you've seen in this video? How many trees you've seen? Maybe a couple plants. Looking at a couple plants, but that's it.
Hey, are you ready? I'm ready. Are you sure? I'm sure. Let's touch the glue. Let's touch the glue.
As a performer myself, I do respect, there's one plant. Other actors, I've seen these guys perform behind me here, and they're great guys, but their whole act is a scam. They try to build it up to this really, really big, enormous thing, and they use people in the audience, and it's nothing. It's just nothing. It leads, essentially, it's this big build up with no punchline, which is kind of how my jokes are in stand-up comedy. It's true. I've been doing it recently. Might make a video on it. Don't expect anything amazing because I'm so new to it. At this point, I just want to go into the subway and show you the hellscape of the inside of the subway. Because most local New Yorkers, if they ain't living or working in Times Square, they usually won't go up to the top, but they do have to transfer in the station to the other trains, because so many trains stop through Times Square and you have to do a connection. So let me show you that. Alright, about to enter the subway now. And I'll show you around. Dun 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 dun. Alright. Whoop. Times Square. See the ACE 7? If you want to get the ACE or the 7 train from the main Times Square station, you have to walk an underground avenue. It takes forever. I've done these walks many times. When I lived in Queens, in Jackson Heights and Sunnyside, I had to get the 7 in and then walk down to like the 1 train or the ACE, and it's like an underground tunnel system. It's just insane. So the ACE is at the Port Authority, the 7's like halfway between, and then the 1, 2, 3, B, D, F, M, N, Q, R, S, and W trains are in the main part of the station. Again, already, look how many people there are. And this is midday on a Wednesday. About an hour to an hour and a half from now, this place will be packed with people. Oh gosh. See, you have to wait for the stairs to clear sometimes. My God, people running at you. Remember, I was explaining to my auntie when I was visiting Australia about how you could get, oh, I just missed my Q train. I remember explaining to my auntie in Australia about how visibly upset you can get with people in Times Square. And I must admit, I'm not proud of it, but I have yelled at people in Times Square before for just stopping in the middle of the path while getting to the train. And I get it, she's like, you know, you don't know what people have gone through in their day, but in Times Square, no one cares what you're going through. No one, literally no one. It's just a fact about this stinky little subway at Times Square station. I have to wait 9 minutes for my Q train. 9 minutes. It's almost like a roller coaster system before you like go on a ride at like Disneyland or something. It's like, I wonder what's down there. Rat. Way to go, rat. Right, this is something that just came to me. When I first moved to New York at acting school, we had this speech teacher. Her name was Susan Finch. And one of the first things she ever said to us out of the blue, because it had nothing to do with speech, is how anytime you're in a New York subway, always have your back against the wall like this or further in the platform, because apparently people have been pushed onto the subway tracks, and she scared the shit out of us when she said that. So now anytime I'm in a subway, I always have my back against something like this when I'm next to tracks so that I don't get pushed in, basically. So I think it's pretty good advice. I don't know if you can hear me. Fuck these trains. That's how packed it is when we get to 86. 90% of it will be gone. 86th Street, and almost everyone's left. And there you have it, a video on NYC's hellscape, that is Times Square Station and Times Square itself. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, please subscribe, and I'll see you at some point.